Your morning decides more than you think. Before the world becomes loud, before notifications start appearing, before responsibilities begin pulling your attention in every direction, there is a small window of time, a quiet moment where your mind is still flexible. Most people waste this moment. They check their phone. They rush into stress. They start the day reacting instead of thinking. And because of that, their entire day becomes chaotic. But a simple habit can change that. Just 10 minutes. 10 minutes of intentional focus before the world gets your attention. 10 minutes that train your mind to become calmer, sharper, and more disciplined. This small routine is not about productivity tricks. It is about control. Control of your thoughts. Control of your focus. Control of your direction. Because the way you start your morning quietly shapes the way you live your life. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why the first minutes of the day matter. The first few minutes after you wake up are far more powerful than most people realize. Before messages appear, before conversations begin, and before the noise of the day enters your mind, there is a brief period where your thoughts are quiet and your awareness is clear. In that short window of time, your brain is highly receptive to influence. Many people spend these first moments in an unintentional way. They reach for their phone immediately, scroll through social media, check messages, or read the news. Within seconds, their mind is flooded with information, opinions, and distractions from the outside world. But when this happens, the mind never has the opportunity to stabilize itself. Instead of beginning the day with clarity, the brain starts reacting immediately to external stimuli. Notifications trigger emotions, news headlines trigger worry, and comparisons on social media can influence mood without you even realizing it. This is why the first minutes of the day matter so much. Your brain is especially impressionable right after waking. Neuroscientists often describe the early morning brain as moving through slower brainwave patterns similar to those experienced during meditation. During this stage, your mind absorbs thoughts more deeply than it does later in the day. In simple terms, the first thoughts you allow into your mind often shape the emotional direction of your entire morning. If your first moments are filled with stress, urgency, or negativity, your brain may carry that emotional tone into the rest of the day. But if your first moments are calm, intentional, and focused, your mind begins the day with clarity and stability. This is why a simple 10-minute morning practice can have such a powerful effect. Those 10 minutes act like a reset for your thinking. Instead of reacting to the world immediately, you give your mind the opportunity to organize itself before the day begins. Think of your mind like a workspace. If the workspace is cluttered and chaotic, it becomes difficult to concentrate. But if the workspace is organized and calm, productivity improves naturally. The same principle applies to your mind. When you start the day intentionally, you create mental order before external pressures arrive. Many successful individuals understand this principle instinctively. Writers, entrepreneurs, athletes, and leaders often protect the early minutes of their day carefully. They use that time to think, reflect, plan, or simply sit quietly with their thoughts. These small rituals help them begin the day with direction rather than confusion. Consider the words often attributed to philosopher Marcus Aurelius. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. This quote highlights the importance of intentional thinking at the start of the day. Instead of rushing immediately into responsibilities and distractions, he encouraged reflection and awareness. Intentional mornings create mental clarity. Mental clarity improves decision-making. And clear decisions shape the direction of your life. Another important reason the first minutes of the day matter is that they influence your emotional state. Emotions often follow thoughts. If the first thoughts you entertain are anxious or negative, your emotions may quickly follow the same pattern. This can create stress even before your day has truly begun. But when you begin the day with calm reflection or focused intention, you guide your emotions in a different direction. You start with stability instead of urgency. This emotional stability becomes a powerful advantage throughout the day. Unexpected challenges will still appear. Meetings may run late, plans may change, and obstacles may arise. But when your mind begins the day with calmness, it becomes easier to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Another important benefit of intentional mornings is focus. The modern world constantly competes for your attention. Emails, notifications, and endless digital content pull your mind in different directions. Without preparation, it becomes easy to lose focus quickly. But when you dedicate even a small amount of time each morning to organizing your thoughts, you strengthen your ability to concentrate. Your priorities become clearer. Your attention becomes more directed. Instead of drifting through the day reacting to events, you move through the day with purpose. The first minutes of the day also influence productivity. When people wake up and immediately rush into activity, their thinking often feels scattered. They may jump from one task to another without clear direction. But a few minutes of quiet reflection allows you to mentally prepare. You can consider what truly matters today. You can identify your most important tasks. This preparation prevents unnecessary distraction later. Another powerful effect of a 10-minute morning routine is consistency. Because the routine is short, it becomes easy to maintain daily. Over time, this small habit compounds into something much larger. 10 minutes of clarity each morning gradually transforms the way you approach your entire day. Your thinking becomes calmer. Your focus becomes stronger. Your emotional reactions become more controlled. These changes may feel subtle at first, but after weeks and months of consistent practice, the difference becomes obvious. You begin noticing that you approach challenges with greater patience. You become less reactive to stress. Your mind feels more organized and intentional. All of this begins with a simple decision: protecting the first few minutes of your day. Instead of allowing the outside world to control your thinking immediately, you take ownership of those moments. You create space for silence, reflection, and intention. Those 10 minutes may seem small, but they influence every decision, reaction, and action that follows. And over time, those small moments at the beginning of each day can shape not only your productivity, but the direction of your life itself. Chapter 2: Silence before the world gets loud. Before the world begins demanding your attention, there is a rare and valuable moment available each morning: silence. It is a quiet space where nothing is asking for your reaction yet. No emails, no conversations, no notifications, no responsibilities pressing for immediate action. For a brief period after waking, your mind exists in a calm and neutral state. Most people miss this moment. Instead of allowing silence to exist, they immediately fill it with noise. The phone lights up, messages appear, news feeds scroll endlessly, and within seconds the mind becomes crowded with information and opinions. The day has not even started, yet the mind is already reacting. But silence serves an important psychological function. Silence gives the brain time to organize itself. Think about what happens when you wake up. Your mind is transitioning from rest to activity. During sleep, your brain processes information, stores memories, and repairs itself. When you wake up, it is not yet operating at full speed. Silence allows this transition to happen smoothly. Instead of overwhelming the brain immediately with new information, silence provides a gentle environment where your mind can become aware and present. This awareness strengthens mental stability. When the brain is constantly bombarded with input, attention becomes fragmented. Thoughts jump from one topic to another without clear direction. Silence prevents this fragmentation. During quiet moments, your mind begins naturally sorting thoughts and priorities. Problems that felt confusing the day before often appear clearer when the mind is calm. This is why many creative thinkers and problem solvers value silence deeply. Albert Einstein once said, "The monotony and solitude of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind." Silence is not emptiness. It is a space where thinking becomes sharper. It is where clarity begins. Morning silence is especially powerful because the mind is still free from the emotional pressures that build later in the day. Throughout the day, responsibilities accumulate. Meetings require attention, conversations require responses, and unexpected problems appear. But in the early minutes of the morning, these pressures have not yet arrived. Your mind is free. Using those moments intentionally can create a powerful mental advantage. One of the simplest ways to use silence is to sit quietly and observe your thoughts. You do not need to solve every problem or create complex plans. Simply becoming aware of your thoughts can bring surprising clarity. You may notice ideas appearing that were not obvious before. You may recognize emotions that need attention. You may begin seeing the day ahead with greater perspective. Silence creates awareness, and awareness is the foundation of mental control. Another benefit of silence is reduced stress. When the day begins with urgency, the body often responds with tension. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, and the mind begins racing through tasks. But silence encourages calmness. When you allow yourself to sit quietly, your breathing slows naturally. Your nervous system remains balanced rather than entering immediate stress mode. This calm state prepares your mind for thoughtful action. Instead of reacting impulsively to events, you begin responding with clarity. Silence also strengthens focus. Focus is not something that appears automatically. It is a skill that improves with practice. When you spend time in quiet reflection, you train your mind to remain with a single thought rather than jumping constantly between distractions. Over time, this training improves concentration. You become more capable of sustaining attention during important tasks later in the day. Another powerful effect of silence is emotional balance. When people begin their day with noise and stimulation, emotions can become reactive. A negative message, an upsetting headline, or an unexpected request can influence mood immediately. But when the day begins with silence, emotions stabilize before these influences appear. You become grounded. From this grounded state, it becomes easier to handle challenges calmly. Silence also reconnects you with your intentions. During busy days, it is easy to forget why you are doing the work you do. Tasks become routine, and the larger purpose behind them fades into the background. Morning silence provides an opportunity to remember. You can think about the person you want to become. You can remind yourself of your long-term goals. You can reconnect with the values guiding your decisions. This reflection creates direction. Without direction, productivity becomes scattered. With direction, every action becomes more meaningful. Some people worry that silence might feel uncomfortable. In a world filled with constant stimulation, quiet moments can feel unfamiliar at first. The mind may attempt to fill the silence with unnecessary thinking or distractions. But with practice, silence becomes peaceful rather than uncomfortable. It becomes a moment you begin looking forward to each morning. Even 10 minutes of silence can change the rhythm of your entire day. Those 10 minutes create a mental boundary between rest and activity. Instead of waking up and instantly reacting to the world, you give your mind time to prepare. You begin the day with awareness instead of noise. This preparation has a compounding effect. Over weeks and months, those quiet moments train your mind to remain calmer under pressure. They strengthen your ability to think clearly. They improve your emotional balance. And they create a foundation of focus that supports everything you do afterward. The world will always become loud eventually. Responsibilities will appear, conversations will begin, and distractions will demand attention. But the person who begins their day with silence enters that noise from a place of calm. And that calm becomes one of the greatest advantages you can carry into the rest of your life. Chapter 3: Control your thoughts before they control you. Every day begins with a stream of thoughts. Some appear quietly, others arrive suddenly, and many of them happen automatically. Before you even start speaking to anyone or interacting with the world, your mind has already begun forming ideas, judgments, expectations, and emotions. Most people never question this process. They assume that their thoughts simply happen to them and they follow wherever those thoughts lead. But one of the most important skills you can develop is learning to control your thoughts before they begin controlling you. Your thinking patterns in the morning often shape the emotional direction of the entire day. If the first thoughts that appear in your mind are negative, anxious, or self-critical, your brain may carry that emotional tone into every situation you encounter. Small problems may feel larger. Conversations may feel more stressful. Tasks may feel more overwhelming. This happens because thoughts influence emotions, and emotions influence behavior. But the opposite is also true. When your first thoughts are calm, intentional, and constructive, your mind becomes more stable. You approach the day with clarity instead of confusion. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. This is why intentional thinking in the morning is so powerful. Morning thinking patterns are especially important because your brain is still transitioning from sleep. During this time, your mind is highly receptive to ideas and internal dialogue. The thoughts you entertain during these early minutes often set the mental tone for the rest of the day. If you begin the day by immediately thinking about problems, deadlines, or worries, those concerns may expand throughout the morning. But if you intentionally guide your thoughts in a constructive direction, you influence your emotional state in a positive way. This practice does not mean pretending that life has no difficulties. Challenges will always exist. Intentional thinking simply means choosing how you approach those challenges. Instead of letting your mind fall into negative loops, you direct your thoughts toward clarity and purpose. Negative mental loops are common. Many people wake up and begin thinking about everything that could go wrong. They replay yesterday's frustrations, anticipate future problems, or criticize themselves for mistakes. These thoughts can quickly multiply. One negative idea leads to another, and soon the mind feels crowded with worry. But when you become aware of this pattern, you gain the ability to interrupt it. Awareness is the first step in controlling your thoughts. When you notice negative thinking beginning to appear, you can pause and question it. Is this thought helping me? Is it useful right now? Is there a more constructive way to approach this situation? These questions create space between you and your thoughts. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin guiding your thinking intentionally. Philosopher William James once wrote, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind." This statement highlights a powerful truth. Your thinking patterns influence the direction of your life. When you train your mind to think constructively, your decisions improve. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Another important part of controlling your thoughts is developing positive internal dialogue. Internal dialogue is the conversation you have with yourself throughout the day. Some people constantly criticize themselves. Their internal voice says things like, "I'm not good enough," "I always mess things up," or "this will probably fail." Over time, this internal criticism weakens confidence. But internal dialogue can also be supportive. Instead of criticizing yourself, you can guide your thoughts with encouragement and realism. You might say, "This challenge is difficult, but I can figure it out," or "I've handled problems before and I can handle this one too." This type of thinking does not ignore reality. It simply focuses on possibility rather than defeat. Positive internal dialogue strengthens decision-making. When your mind believes solutions are possible, it becomes more creative in finding them. Another benefit of intentional thinking is emotional stability. When people allow thoughts to run freely without awareness, emotions can become unpredictable. A small frustration can trigger anger. A minor inconvenience can create stress. But when you observe and guide your thoughts, emotional reactions become more balanced. You begin responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Morning is the perfect time to practice this skill. During those 10 quiet minutes, you can examine the thoughts appearing in your mind. You can replace anxious thinking with constructive intentions. You can remind yourself of your goals, your values, and the person you want to become. This simple practice builds mental discipline. Each morning you strengthen your ability to guide your thinking rather than being controlled by it. Over time, this discipline transforms how you experience challenges. Problems still appear, but they no longer dominate your mind. You begin seeing situations more clearly. Your thinking becomes calmer. Your decisions become more deliberate. Another powerful effect of controlling your thoughts is improved productivity. When your mind is scattered by negative or distracting thoughts, focus becomes difficult. But when your thinking is organized and intentional, concentration improves naturally. You approach tasks with clarity rather than confusion. All of these benefits begin with a simple habit. Each morning, take a few minutes to observe your thoughts and guide them intentionally. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose possibility over doubt. Choose calm thinking over anxious reaction. Those choices may feel small in the moment, but repeated daily, they reshape the way your mind operates. And when you learn to control your thoughts before they control you, you gain one of the most powerful forms of personal freedom available. Because the direction of your thinking ultimately shapes the direction of your life. Chapter 4. Train your focus for the day ahead. Focus is one of the most valuable abilities a person can develop. In a world full of notifications, constant information, and endless distractions, the ability to concentrate on one thing at a time has become rare. Many people move through their days reacting to whatever appears in front of them: messages, emails, conversations, or unexpected problems. As a result, their attention becomes scattered. When attention is scattered, productivity decreases and mental fatigue increases. Tasks take longer to complete, decisions become less clear, and the mind feels constantly overwhelmed. But focus is not something you either have or don't have. Focus is a skill. And like any skill, it becomes stronger with practice. The first 10 minutes of your morning provide an ideal opportunity to train that skill. During these quiet minutes, your mind has not yet been pulled in multiple directions. There are no urgent messages demanding attention and no external pressures competing for your focus. This moment allows you to practice concentrating deliberately. Training your focus early in the morning prepares your mind for the rest of the day. Think of focus like a muscle. If a muscle is never used, it becomes weak. But when it is exercised regularly, it grows stronger. The same principle applies to attention. Every time you practice holding your attention on a single thought, task, or intention, you strengthen your ability to concentrate later. When people begin their mornings with distractions, checking their phones, reading multiple messages, or switching between different apps, their attention becomes fragmented immediately. Their brain starts the day jumping from one piece of information to another. This pattern makes sustained focus much harder later. But when you dedicate 10 minutes to intentional concentration, you train your mind to remain steady. During these minutes, you might simply focus on your breathing, a specific goal for the day, or a clear thought you want to hold in your mind. The goal is not complexity. The goal is stability. You are teaching your brain to stay with one thing. This simple practice strengthens mental endurance. Mental endurance is the ability to stay engaged with a task even when it requires effort or patience. Without mental endurance, people often feel the urge to switch tasks frequently. They check messages while working, browse the internet while studying, or interrupt themselves repeatedly. This behavior feels productive, but it actually reduces efficiency. Each time you switch tasks, your brain must reorient itself. This process consumes mental energy and breaks concentration. Training your focus helps prevent this cycle. When your mind becomes comfortable with sustained attention, you can work longer and more effectively without feeling distracted. Another important benefit of morning focus is clarity. When your mind is scattered, it becomes difficult to determine what truly matters. You may feel busy all day without accomplishing the most important tasks. But when you begin the day with focused thinking, priorities become clearer. You can ask yourself a simple question during those 10 minutes. What is the most important thing I need to accomplish today? Holding this question in your mind helps organize your thoughts. You begin the day with direction rather than confusion. Clear direction reduces stress. When people start their day without clarity, they often spend hours reacting to minor tasks while postponing meaningful work. Focused thinking prevents this. It encourages intentional action. Another powerful aspect of focus training is improved productivity. Productivity is not about doing more things. It is about doing the right things with full attention. A single hour of concentrated effort often produces more results than several hours of distracted activity. By training your focus each morning, you increase the likelihood that your work throughout the day will be more effective. This practice also improves decision-making. When your attention is scattered, decisions become rushed or unclear. You may overlook important details or react emotionally rather than thoughtfully. But when your mind is focused, you evaluate situations more carefully. You see options more clearly and choose actions that align with your goals. Another benefit of focus training is emotional stability. Distractions often trigger emotional reactions. A sudden message may cause frustration, a piece of news may create anxiety, or an unexpected request may interrupt your plans. But when your mind begins the day with strong focus, it becomes less reactive. You maintain control over where your attention goes. Instead of being pulled constantly by outside stimuli, you remain centered. Philosopher Seneca once said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." This quote highlights the danger of scattered attention. When your mind tries to follow everything, it ultimately accomplishes very little. True effectiveness comes from directing your attention deliberately. The morning is the perfect time to develop this habit. Those 10 minutes become a training ground for your attention. Each day you practice holding your focus strengthens your ability to do the same during work, conversations, and problem solving. Over time, this practice transforms your relationship with distractions. Instead of being controlled by them, you learn to choose when and where to direct your attention. This choice becomes one of the most powerful tools you possess. Because the person who can control their focus can control their productivity, their learning, and their progress. And it all begins with a simple daily habit. 10 quiet minutes spent training your mind to stay where you choose to place it. Chapter 5. Build discipline through small habits. Many people believe discipline comes from sudden bursts of motivation or powerful decisions made during moments of inspiration. They imagine discipline as something dramatic, a strong moment where a person decides to change everything at once. But in reality, discipline develops in a much quieter way. It grows through small habits repeated consistently. Every time you repeat a small action intentionally, you strengthen your ability to follow through on your decisions. Over time, these repeated actions become automatic, forming routines that guide your behavior without constant effort. This is why the 10-minute morning practice is so powerful. It may appear simple, even insignificant, but it trains one of the most important qualities in personal development: consistency. Consistency is the foundation of discipline. Without it, even the best ideas and intentions rarely produce meaningful results. Many people begin new habits with enthusiasm. They start a routine with energy and excitement, but after a few days or weeks, the routine fades. Other responsibilities appear, motivation declines, and the habit disappears. This pattern happens because people often try to change too much at once. They attempt complex routines that require significant time, effort, and mental energy. When the routine becomes difficult to maintain, they stop. Small habits solve this problem. A habit that requires only 10 minutes is easy to repeat daily. It does not overwhelm your schedule, and it does not require extraordinary effort. But when repeated every day, even a small habit creates powerful change. Each day you complete the habit, you reinforce a message to yourself: I do what I say I will do. This message strengthens self-discipline. Over time, this simple act builds trust between you and yourself. You begin believing in your own ability to follow through on commitments. This belief is essential. Many people struggle with discipline because they do not trust themselves to remain consistent. They may begin routines but abandon them repeatedly, which weakens their confidence. Small habits reverse this pattern. Every completed routine becomes evidence that you can remain consistent. This growing confidence makes it easier to develop larger habits later. Another important advantage of small habits is that they reduce resistance. Large goals often feel intimidating. When people think about major changes, exercising for hours, learning complex skills, or completely reorganizing their lives, the effort required may feel overwhelming. This feeling creates resistance. The brain prefers comfort and familiarity, so it often resists drastic changes. But small habits bypass this resistance. 10 minutes feels manageable. Your brain accepts the task because it does not feel threatening. Once you begin the habit, however, something interesting happens. Starting often leads to continuation. A 10-minute focus session may lead to deeper thinking. A short reflection may lead to productive planning. The small habit acts as a doorway to larger actions. Over time, these actions accumulate. This is the true power of habits. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, once wrote, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become." Each small habit reinforces your identity. When you consistently complete your morning routine, you begin seeing yourself as someone who practices discipline. Identity influences behavior. Once you believe you are a disciplined person, maintaining other productive habits becomes easier. Small habits also strengthen mental resilience. Life inevitably includes distractions, setbacks, and unexpected challenges. When people rely solely on motivation, these obstacles often interrupt their progress. But habits create stability. Even when motivation feels low, habits continue guiding behavior. Your routine becomes something you simply do regardless of mood. This reliability protects your progress. Another benefit of small habits is their cumulative effect. One day of 10 minutes may not feel transformative, but 10 minutes every day for an entire year equals more than 60 hours of focused thinking. Those 60 hours are not random. They are structured moments of reflection, clarity, and intention. Over time, this repeated practice changes how you think and respond to situations. You become calmer under pressure. You think more clearly before making decisions. You respond to challenges with greater patience. These improvements may appear gradually, but they become powerful over time. Another important aspect of small habits is that they create rhythm. When your day begins with a predictable routine, your mind enters a productive rhythm more easily. Instead of starting the day in confusion, you begin with structure. Structure reduces decision fatigue. Decision fatigue occurs when the brain becomes overwhelmed by too many choices. Each decision consumes mental energy, leaving less energy available for important thinking later. A simple routine removes some of these decisions. You know exactly what you will do first each morning. This clarity allows your mind to settle into focus quickly. Over time, this rhythm becomes comforting. Your morning routine becomes a stable anchor in your day. Regardless of what challenges appear later, you begin the day with control over your time and attention. This sense of control strengthens confidence, and confidence encourages further growth. Eventually, the discipline built through small habits extends beyond the morning routine. You begin applying the same consistency to other areas of life: work, health, learning, and relationships. Each new habit builds upon the discipline already developed. All of this begins with a small decision. 10 minutes each morning. 10 minutes of intentional focus, reflection, and clarity. The habit itself may appear simple, but its long-term impact can reshape the way you think, act, and respond to life's challenges. Because discipline is not built through dramatic moments. It is built through small actions repeated consistently. And those small actions, practiced daily, can quietly transform your entire life. Chapter 6. Prepare your mind for challenges. Every day brings unexpected situations. Some are small inconveniences: a delayed meeting, a difficult conversation, a task that takes longer than expected. Others may be larger challenges that require patience, resilience, and careful thinking. The difference between feeling overwhelmed and responding calmly often depends on preparation. When the mind is unprepared, challenges can feel sudden and stressful. Emotional reactions appear quickly, and decisions may be made impulsively. But when the mind is prepared ahead of time, those same situations feel manageable. Preparation gives you psychological stability. The 10 quiet minutes in the morning are an ideal time to prepare your mind for the day ahead. During this time, you can mentally review the situations you might encounter. You can think about responsibilities, conversations, and tasks that may require patience or focus. This is not about worrying about problems. It is about calmly anticipating them. Anticipation changes how the brain reacts. When something unexpected happens, the mind often interprets it as a threat. This triggers stress responses: faster heart rate, shallow breathing, and racing thoughts. But when the mind has already considered the possibility of challenges, the reaction becomes calmer. Instead of panic, there is recognition. Instead of confusion, there is readiness. Ancient Stoic philosophers practiced a similar technique known as premeditatio malorum, which means premeditation of difficulties. They would spend a few moments each morning considering the challenges that might appear during the day. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal journal that when he woke up, he reminded himself that he would encounter difficult people, misunderstandings, and frustrations. By acknowledging this possibility in advance, he reduced the emotional shock when those situations occurred. Preparation made him steadier. You can apply the same principle in your 10-minute morning routine. Think briefly about the situations ahead. Perhaps you have an important meeting, a demanding project, or a conversation that requires patience. Instead of approaching these moments with uncertainty, you mentally prepare for them. You can ask yourself a simple question: how do I want to respond when challenges appear today? This question shifts your attention from reaction to intention. Instead of waiting to see how you will feel in a stressful moment, You decide in advance how you want to behave. This mental preparation strengthens emotional control. For example, imagine you expect a busy workday with several responsibilities. Without preparation, the first unexpected problem may trigger frustration. Your mood may shift quickly, affecting the rest of the day. But if you begin the day acknowledging that challenges are normal, the same situation feels different. You may still notice the difficulty, but you are less likely to react emotionally. Your mind has already accepted that challenges are part of the process. This acceptance creates calmness. Preparation also improves problem solving. When people feel overwhelmed by unexpected situations, their thinking often becomes narrow. They focus on the immediate frustration rather than exploring possible solutions. But when the mind is calm, thinking becomes more flexible. You can analyze the situation, consider options, and respond thoughtfully. Morning preparation strengthens this ability. Another advantage of mental preparation is increased confidence. When you anticipate challenges and imagine responding calmly, you build trust in your ability to handle them. Your mind begins believing that difficulties are manageable rather than threatening. This confidence influences behavior. Instead of avoiding difficult situations, you approach them with greater clarity. Another important part of preparing your mind is visualizing how you will handle stress. You might imagine yourself remaining calm during a disagreement, focusing carefully during an important task, or responding patiently to unexpected delays. This mental rehearsal strengthens emotional discipline. Athletes often use visualization before competitions. They imagine themselves performing successfully, overcoming obstacles, and maintaining focus under pressure. This mental practice prepares their mind and body for real situations. Your morning routine can work in a similar way. By imagining yourself responding calmly and effectively, you train your brain to behave that way when the situation actually occurs. Preparation also reduces decision fatigue. When people face challenges without preparation, they must make decisions quickly under pressure. This can lead to mistakes or unnecessary stress. But when you have already considered how you want to respond, decisions become easier. Your mind follows the direction you established earlier. Another powerful benefit of preparation is emotional resilience. Life will always include moments that test patience. Plans will change. People will behave unpredictably. Unexpected problems will appear. But when you begin each day expecting challenges rather than hoping to avoid them completely, your perspective shifts. Challenges no longer feel like interruptions. They become part of the journey. This mindset strengthens resilience. You remain calm even when circumstances become difficult. Over time, the practice of preparing your mind each morning builds powerful mental stability. You become less reactive and more thoughtful. You handle pressure more effectively. Your decisions become clearer because they are guided by intention rather than emotion. All of this can begin with 10 quiet minutes. 10 minutes to think ahead. 10 minutes to imagine responding calmly. 10 minutes to remind yourself that challenges are normal and that you are capable of handling them. When you prepare your mind in this way, the day no longer feels unpredictable. You enter it with awareness, confidence, and control. And that preparation transforms challenges from stressful surprises into opportunities to demonstrate strength and clarity. Chapter 7. Visualize the person you are becoming. Every meaningful change in life begins first in the mind. Before a person becomes disciplined, confident, successful, or resilient, they usually imagine that version of themselves long before it appears in reality. This is where visualization becomes powerful. Visualization is the practice of mentally imagining the person you want to become and the life you want to build. It is not about fantasy or wishful thinking. Instead, it is a deliberate way of strengthening your identity and directing your actions. Your brain responds strongly to mental images. When you picture something clearly, your mind begins treating it as important. It starts aligning your thoughts and behaviors toward making that image real. This is why athletes, performers, and successful professionals often use visualization as part of their preparation. They imagine themselves performing well before the actual moment arrives. They see the outcome in their mind first. In your 10-minute morning routine, visualization helps you focus on the person you are becoming. Instead of drifting through the day reacting to events, You begin the day with a clear image of your future self. Ask yourself a simple question during these quiet minutes. Who do I want to become? Perhaps you want to become someone more disciplined, someone calmer under pressure, someone who works consistently toward meaningful goals. Maybe you want to become someone confident in your decisions or someone who approaches life with patience and clarity. Whatever that vision may be, visualization helps strengthen it. When you imagine that future version of yourself clearly, your brain begins recognizing it as a goal. Your actions begin aligning with that identity. For example, imagine someone who wants to become more focused and productive. If they begin each morning visualizing themselves working with calm concentration, handling distractions wisely, and completing important tasks, their brain starts reinforcing those behaviors. Later in the day, when distractions appear, their mind remembers the image they created earlier. The visualization becomes a guide. This connection between imagination and behavior is powerful. Psychologists have studied how mental rehearsal influences performance. When people repeatedly imagine themselves performing certain actions successfully, their brain begins strengthening the same neural pathways involved in actually performing those actions. In other words, the mind practices success before it happens. This mental practice improves confidence and readiness. Another benefit of visualization is motivation. When people pursue long-term goals, progress often feels slow. It can be difficult to remain motivated when the final outcome still feels distant. But visualization brings the future closer. By imagining the results you want clearly, you remind yourself why your efforts matter. You reconnect with the purpose behind your actions. This renewed sense of purpose strengthens persistence. Another important aspect of visualization is identity. Most habits and behaviors are influenced by how people see themselves. If someone believes they are disorganized or undisciplined, their behavior often reflects that belief. But when someone begins seeing themselves differently, as focused, capable, and determined, their behavior gradually changes. Visualization helps reshape this identity. Each morning, you remind yourself of the person you are becoming. Over time, this repeated reminder becomes internalized. You no longer see discipline or focus as something difficult or unfamiliar. It becomes part of who you are. Another advantage of visualization is emotional preparation. When you imagine yourself succeeding, you also imagine the emotions associated with that success. Confidence, calmness, determination. These emotional states influence how you approach challenges. Instead of doubting your ability to succeed, you approach tasks with greater belief in your capabilities. This belief encourages action. Action leads to progress, and progress reinforces confidence. Another important element of visualization is clarity. Many people feel uncertain about their direction simply because they have never taken the time to imagine it clearly. They move through life reacting to circumstances rather than guiding them. Visualization changes this. It allows you to see the path ahead more clearly. You begin recognizing which actions support your future and which distractions pull you away from it. This awareness strengthens decision-making. Another benefit of visualization is resilience. When challenges appear, and they always do, the image of your future self provides encouragement. You remember what you are working toward. You remember the person you want to become. This reminder helps you continue even when progress feels slow. Consider the words of author Napoleon Hill: "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." While this quote emphasizes belief, the foundation of belief often begins with imagination. You must first conceive the possibility before it can become reality. Visualization helps you conceive that possibility. During your 10-minute morning routine, take a moment to imagine your future self clearly. Picture how you think, how you respond to challenges, how you approach your work, and how you interact with others. Imagine the calm confidence of someone who knows their direction. This image becomes a mental blueprint. Each action you take during the day becomes a step toward that blueprint. Over time, the gap between imagination and reality begins to close. The person you once imagined gradually becomes the person you are. And it all begins with a few quiet minutes each morning, visualizing the life and character you are determined to build. Chapter 8: Strengthen Emotional Control. Every day presents situations that test emotional balance. A conversation may become tense, a plan may suddenly change, or an unexpected problem may appear. In these moments, emotions can rise quickly: frustration, anxiety, impatience, or anger. When emotions take control, decisions often become impulsive. Words may be spoken without careful thought. Actions may be taken that later lead to regret. Many conflicts and mistakes occur not because people lack intelligence, but because they react emotionally in the moment. This is why emotional control is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. And the 10 quiet minutes in the morning provide an ideal opportunity to strengthen this skill. Emotional control does not mean suppressing emotions completely. Emotions are natural signals that help us understand our experiences. The goal is not to eliminate them but to guide them. The goal is to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting automatically. Morning reflection helps create the mental space required for this control. When you spend a few minutes observing your thoughts and emotions, you begin recognizing patterns in your behavior. You may notice situations that tend to trigger frustration or impatience. This awareness is powerful. When you understand what triggers your emotions, you gain the ability to prepare for those moments. Preparation reduces impulsive reactions. For example, imagine you know that certain work situations tend to create stress, perhaps tight deadlines, difficult conversations, or unexpected changes in plans. If you begin your day by acknowledging these possibilities calmly, your mind becomes more prepared when they appear. Instead of reacting immediately, you recognize the situation and pause. That pause creates control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." This statement highlights a fundamental truth about emotional control. Events themselves are often outside your control, but your response remains within your control. Morning reflection strengthens your ability to choose that response. During those 10 minutes, you can ask yourself a simple question: how do I want to handle difficult moments today? You might imagine responding with patience during a stressful conversation or remaining calm when plans change unexpectedly. This mental rehearsal prepares your mind. Later in the day, when those situations appear, your brain remembers the intention you established earlier. Your response becomes more deliberate. Another important aspect of emotional control is slowing down your reactions. Emotions often move faster than logic. When something surprising or frustrating happens, the brain's emotional centers react immediately. This reaction can produce strong impulses, raising your voice, defending yourself aggressively, or withdrawing in frustration. But thoughtful decisions require time. The 10-minute morning routine encourages a calmer pace of thinking. When your mind begins the day with calm reflection, you are more likely to pause before reacting later. This pause allows your rational mind to engage. Instead of acting on the first emotional impulse, you consider the consequences of your response. This simple delay often transforms situations that might otherwise escalate into conflict. Another benefit of emotional control is improved relationships. Many misunderstandings occur because people react emotionally rather than communicating thoughtfully. A moment of frustration can lead to harsh words. A misunderstanding can quickly become an argument. But when emotional control is strong, communication becomes more constructive. You listen more carefully. You respond more patiently. You focus on resolving problems rather than winning arguments. These behaviors strengthen trust and cooperation. Emotional discipline also improves decision-making. When emotions dominate thinking, decisions often become short-term and reactive. Fear may cause you to avoid opportunities. Excitement may encourage risky choices. But calm thinking produces balanced decisions. You consider both the risks and the benefits before acting. Morning reflection helps cultivate this calm thinking. By beginning the day with awareness and intention, you train your brain to remain steady under pressure. Another important benefit of emotional control is personal resilience. Life will always include moments of difficulty. Unexpected problems, criticism, or disappointments are part of every journey. People who react emotionally to every setback often feel overwhelmed quickly. But those who develop emotional discipline respond differently. They acknowledge the challenge but remain focused on solutions. They maintain perspective rather than becoming discouraged. This resilience allows them to continue moving forward. Over time, Practicing emotional control each morning changes how you experience challenges. Situations that once triggered frustration begin to feel manageable. Your reactions become calmer. Your decisions become clearer. And your relationships improve because your responses reflect patience rather than impulse. This transformation does not happen instantly. Like any skill, emotional control develops through practice. Each morning provides a new opportunity to strengthen it. 10 minutes of quiet reflection. 10 minutes to observe your emotions and guide your intentions. 10 minutes to remind yourself that calm thinking creates better outcomes. These small moments of practice accumulate. Over weeks and months, they build emotional stability that carries into every part of your life. And when emotional control becomes a habit, you gain a powerful advantage. You remain steady while others react impulsively. You respond thoughtfully when situations become stressful. You maintain clarity when emotions rise. All of this begins with a simple daily practice. 10 quiet minutes each morning. 10 minutes to train your mind to lead your emotions rather than being controlled by them. And over time, that discipline transforms not only your reactions but the quality of your entire life. Chapter 9. Turn consistency into confidence. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people assume confidence appears first and then action follows. They believe confident people act boldly because they already feel certain about themselves. But in reality, the process usually works the other way around. Action creates confidence. Each time you complete a task, follow through on a commitment, or keep a promise to yourself, your mind gathers evidence that you are capable and reliable. That evidence gradually strengthens your belief in yourself. This is why the 10-minute morning routine can have such a powerful impact on confidence. The routine itself is simple. It does not require extraordinary effort or complicated planning. But its real value lies in consistency. When you repeat a small action every day, you begin developing a pattern of reliability. You prove to yourself that you can start something and continue doing it. That reliability builds trust. Confidence grows from that trust. Many people struggle with confidence not because they lack ability, but because they lack consistency. They begin routines but abandon them quickly. They set goals but fail to follow through repeatedly. Each broken promise to themselves weakens their belief in their own discipline. Over time, this pattern creates doubt. But when you complete a small daily routine, like spending 10 minutes each morning reflecting, focusing, or preparing your mind, you begin reversing that pattern. Every completed morning becomes a small success. One success leads to another. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. And gradually, your mind begins recognizing something important. You are someone who keeps commitments. This realization changes how you see yourself. Instead of questioning your discipline, you begin trusting it. Confidence begins to appear naturally. Another important benefit of consistency is that it reduces hesitation. When people lack confidence, they often hesitate before taking action. They worry about making mistakes or appearing unprepared. But when someone has developed consistent habits, hesitation decreases. They become accustomed to acting. The mind recognizes that progress comes through action rather than waiting for perfect conditions. The morning routine reinforces this pattern. Every day begins with a deliberate action, 10 minutes of intentional thinking. This small act signals that you are in control of how the day begins. That control strengthens your sense of capability. Over time, this confidence extends beyond the morning routine. You begin approaching work, conversations, and challenges with the same steady mindset. Another powerful effect of consistency is emotional stability. When people rely only on motivation, their behavior often changes with their mood. On days when motivation feels strong, they work hard. On days when motivation fades, they struggle to act. This pattern creates unpredictable progress. But consistency removes the dependence on mood. When something becomes part of your routine, you perform it regardless of how you feel. This reliability strengthens self-discipline. And self-discipline strengthens confidence. You begin realizing that you can act even when motivation is low. That realization is empowering. Confidence also grows because consistency creates visible progress. When you reflect on your thinking each morning, you gradually notice changes. Your thoughts become clearer. Your emotional reactions become calmer. Your focus becomes stronger. These improvements may appear subtle at first, but over time they become obvious. Seeing your own growth reinforces belief in your abilities. The philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "Self-trust is the first secret of success." Self-trust develops through repeated proof. Every day you complete your routine, you strengthen that proof. You demonstrate that your intentions are followed by action. Another advantage of turning consistency into confidence is resilience. When people face setbacks, their response often depends on how they view themselves. Someone who doubts their abilities may interpret setbacks as proof of failure. But someone who has built confidence through consistent effort sees setbacks differently. They recognize that challenges are temporary. Their past consistency reminds them that they are capable of continuing. This perspective helps them recover more quickly. Consistency also strengthens identity. Over time, you begin identifying yourself as someone who practices discipline and reflection. This identity influences behavior automatically. Instead of forcing yourself to act with discipline, discipline becomes part of who you are. Your decisions begin aligning with that identity. Another important effect of consistency is momentum. Momentum occurs when repeated actions create increasing progress. The more consistent you become, the easier it feels to continue. Your morning routine becomes a stable anchor in your day. No matter what challenges appear later, you begin the day with a sense of accomplishment. That small accomplishment sets a positive tone. It reminds you that you have already taken control of something important. This mindset carries into the rest of the day. Confidence does not arrive suddenly in dramatic moments. It grows quietly through daily actions. Each repeated habit strengthens your belief in your own reliability. Each completed routine reinforces your identity as someone capable of discipline and growth. 10 minutes each morning may seem small, but repeated consistently, those 10 minutes transform into something powerful. They become daily evidence that you are capable of controlling your attention, guiding your thoughts, and shaping your actions. And as that evidence accumulates, confidence begins to feel natural. Not because you told yourself to be confident, but because you proved to yourself, day after day, that you can be trusted to follow through. And that trust becomes the foundation of lasting confidence. Chapter 10. Transform your life through daily repetition. Most people search for dramatic changes when they want to improve their lives. They imagine that transformation happens through a single powerful decision, a sudden breakthrough, or a moment of extraordinary motivation. But lasting change rarely happens that way. Real transformation is usually quiet. It happens through small actions repeated consistently over long periods of time. This is the principle behind the 10-minute morning practice. 10 minutes may appear insignificant when viewed on its own. It is a very small portion of an entire day. But when those 10 minutes are used intentionally every morning, they begin influencing everything that follows. Daily repetition is powerful because it reshapes thinking gradually. The human brain learns through repetition. Every repeated action strengthens neural pathways in the brain. Over time, these pathways become automatic patterns of thought and behavior. This means that the actions you repeat daily eventually shape how you think, how you respond to situations, and how you approach challenges. When you spend 10 minutes each morning focusing your thoughts, calming your mind, and preparing yourself intentionally, you begin creating a mental pattern. This pattern reinforces clarity. Each day you repeat the routine, the pattern becomes stronger. Eventually, the mindset you practice in those 10 minutes starts appearing naturally throughout the rest of your day. You begin approaching problems with greater calmness. You think more carefully before reacting. You maintain focus longer. This transformation happens gradually but powerfully. The key factor is repetition. Repetition builds habits. Habits shape identity. And identity influences the direction of your life. Consider how many of your current behaviors are already habits. You may brush your teeth without thinking about it. You may check your phone automatically. You may follow routines that developed years ago without consciously choosing them. These habits were built through repetition. The same process can be used intentionally. When you repeat a positive habit every day, it becomes part of your identity. Your 10-minute morning routine becomes something you naturally do, just like any other established habit. Over time, this routine begins influencing other areas of life. The discipline developed in those 10 minutes extends into your work. The clarity developed during reflection improves decision-making. The emotional balance practiced during quiet thinking improves relationships. Small actions begin producing large outcomes. This is the compound effect of daily repetition. Author Darren Hardy once described this idea clearly when he wrote, "Small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference." This principle applies to nearly every form of personal growth. Large achievements rarely come from a single moment of effort. They come from thousands of small actions repeated consistently. Another advantage of daily repetition is that it removes the need for constant motivation. Motivation can be unpredictable. Some days you may feel inspired and energized. Other days you may feel tired or distracted. If progress depends only on motivation, it will be inconsistent. But habits eliminate this problem. Once a habit is established, you perform it automatically. Your morning routine becomes part of your daily rhythm. You no longer debate whether you should do it. You simply begin. This reliability protects your progress. Another powerful effect of repetition is momentum. Each completed routine strengthens your belief in your discipline. Each day builds upon the previous one. Momentum grows. With momentum, actions that once required effort begin feeling natural. The mind becomes accustomed to clarity, reflection, and intentional thinking. This mental environment improves productivity throughout the day. Another benefit of daily repetition is resilience. Life will always include challenges, distractions, and unexpected situations. But when your day begins with a stable routine, you start from a place of control. No matter what difficulties appear later, you have already created a moment of calm and intention. This moment strengthens your ability to handle stress. You respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Over time, the effects of this routine extend beyond productivity or emotional control. They begin shaping the way you see yourself. You start identifying as someone who practices discipline and intentional thinking. This identity influences every decision you make. When challenges appear, you remind yourself that you are someone who remains calm and focused. When distractions appear, you return to your priorities more easily. This transformation does not require dramatic effort. It requires repetition. 10 minutes each morning. 10 minutes to sit quietly, organize your thoughts, visualize your direction, and prepare your mind. At first, the change may feel small, but weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And those repeated moments of clarity accumulate. Eventually, you begin noticing something remarkable. The way you think has changed. Your reactions have become calmer. Your decisions have become clearer. Your focus has become stronger. All of this began with a simple habit. 10 minutes each morning. 10 minutes of intentional thinking. 10 minutes repeated daily. And through that repetition, you gradually reshape not just your mornings, but the direction of your entire life. Most people are waiting for big changes. A new opportunity. A perfect plan. A dramatic moment that suddenly transforms their life. But real change rarely happens that way. It happens quietly. In small daily decisions. In the habits that seem simple, but repeated over time become powerful. 10 minutes every morning may not feel dramatic, but those minutes train your mind. They teach you focus. They strengthen discipline. They create clarity before the chaos of the day begins. And over time, something begins to change. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your reactions become calmer. Your direction becomes clearer. Because success is not built in one moment. It is built in thousands of small moments that most people ignore. The question now is simple. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, will you start your day the same way you always have? Or will you take 10 minutes and begin building the mindset that shapes everything that follows?